Hello, happy Monday. Okay, so as I titled this, manifestation, did you manifest it or was it God? This is such a topic for me because I know I have seen manifestation work in my own life. I have done vision boards and I have watched things come true. I have seen them come true for other people. But yet there's always that little bit of me in the back of my mind that has struggled because did I manifest it or is it God? Because it's so, like there's such a relationship there, but there's really just, it's all the same thing. It's just different words. And so a lot of times, if you're believing in Jesus, it's a struggle to then believe in the universe because we know he created the universe, right? So yesterday at church, and I don't even know if I can do this justice, and this will be super fast. I will make my point very quickly, and then we can discuss. Um, but yesterday at church, they were talking about the creation story, and every religion, like Greeks, Egyptians, Babylons, like all of the creation stories of every religion they all have a creation story. I guess is my point, and they all are very much centered around nature. So there was like lots of different gods or deities. So there was like the sun god, the rain god. Like, you've heard that. Like you've heard stories as you've grown up, like people would pray for the rain god or whatever. Whereas we all know that we're just praying to our God, right? So when you look at all these old, this was so good, and I won't do this justice, but Father did a great job. But anyway, when you look at all the old past stories of other religions and they talk about the creation story, excuse me, they all have at the core what they call chaos. And it's in the chaos. So it could be like the darkness could have been the chaos to them. That could have been the god of darkness that was creating the chaos. It might have been the god of the ocean. A lot of times was blamed for the chaos because it covered the earth. And so they all have these great battles in the beginning to kick off the creation of earth and humans. And there's always these gods fighting one another to finally bring about life or light and to finally bring about like the earth and to bring about the animals, right? But I'm going to share my screen. In the version that I follow, I will call it, in the beginning, God created earth and heaven. I'm going to move this out of the way. However, it was formless and empty, and darkness did cover it, and it had the spirit hovering over. And then he said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So he spoke it, and it was. He saw that it was good, right? So then he started speaking the rest. He said, "Let there be a vault between the water to separate it." And so then there was. Then he said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into one place." So my point here is he said, there was no battle, there was no fight, there were no other gods at play, right? He just spoke the words and it was. And it was in this moment that all of a sudden in my head, I heard his voice and he said, "You were created in my likeness. You are created in my image." So when we say things like, "I am 200K, I am healthy," we are speaking it. So whether you call that manifestation or whether you call that your awesome God, it's all the same thing. It doesn't have to be a battle. It doesn't have to be a struggle. You don't have to even understand what it actually all means or what it was going to look like, but you have to speak it and believe it and know that you were made in his image and that he had the power. He's given you the power, right? I'm not saying we're God. I'm not saying I can be like, let it rain and it's going to fall from the sky, right? But I can speak what I desire and what I want, and I can speak it and speak it and speak it. And that is a form of prayer in my mind. And the more we speak it and the more we believe in it and the more we allow it to become, the more we allow him to work in our lives. That is, to me, and the way I believe, the way manifestation comes about. Sandra says, "This is awesome. I'll have to check and see if the sermon was recorded." It was at not St. Francis. It was at St. Susanna in Mason. And I do think that they record their services. I don't know if they record all of them. We go to the 731. Sonia says, "Yes, life and death are in the power of the tongue." Sorry, I don't have the Bible verse. Yeah, no, but you're exactly right. So what I wanted, like, so from the very start, the creation story of all, it was from the power of words, right? Granted, they were his words. So all he had to say was, let there be light, and there was light. But we are made in his image and likeness. And so we have power in our words. And so whether you are cutting out pictures and looking at that every day, and I know some people are like, but if I'm just looking at it, you guys, when you connect, when your eyeballs connect to a photo, your brain is talking. You have words going on in your brain. They might not be coming out of your mouth. They're more powerful if they do, but they're in there. So like, let's say you're looking at, maybe it says, maybe it's, excuse me, maybe it's the word mortgage with a big circle and a red line across it, right? Like no more mortgage. Like when you look at that picture, your brain says no mortgage, debt free, pay it off, that kind of thing. Like those are going on in your head. Those are your words. Now, if you look at that image and you say it out loud, I'm so happy and grateful to be debt free. I'm so happy and grateful my mortgage is paid off. Are you making that up? No, like you're speaking that into existence because that is what we were taught to do. That's what he showed us from day one, minute one, second one, the power in our words. And so if you get caught up, as I know a lot of us do, myself included, if you get caught up in the, well, I can't manifest because that's selfish, because if Jesus would want me to have it, then he would provide. And he does provide, as you all know. You're all wearing clothes right now. You've all had something to eat or will be having something to eat. You guys have all had a shower in the last 48 hours. You have electricity. You're on the internet. Like there's a mind boggler one, right? If you're my age or older, the internet is like still kind of weird some days if you think about it. Like, how do we all do this? We all connect even though we're far away. So he does provide. But if you want to speak and give direction to the desires that he's put into you, and you want to bring them forth faster, and you want to let him know you're ready for them, you have to say them. You have to speak them out loud. So as weird as it might say to be like, to say out loud, I am 200K. First and foremost, I'll go back to a training I did a long time ago. If you have the slightest speck of desire to be a 200K, he's a part of that. You're not being selfish. You're not being greedy. That was put into you, right? There are so many people walking this earth that have no desire to be a 200K. There are promoters with LaBelle who have no desire to be 200K. But if you have that desire, even if it's just a speck, he put it in there. So it's okay to work with that. And so when you go back to those creation stories and you go back to, he said, let there be, and it was, and you are made in his likeness, that's why there's so much power in our words. He put that power in your voice. He put that power in your words. No matter what language you're speaking, no matter if you're speaking boldly or softly, there's power in your words, and it comes from him. And so when you use those words, whether you choose to call it manifestation or prayer, that is where that power comes from. And that is how you can direct and change the future of your life. And please remember, when you have those desires, it's not selfish or weird or whatever. It's, oh, I've got there's scripture over here waiting on me. It's from him. Like it's in you because it was put into you, right? So let me so okay, so Sonia gave us the actual verse of when she was talking earlier about power in the tongue. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it, right? Write it down. So when we talk about vision boards and we talk about saying your I ams, we're writing things down. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come, and it will not delay. So again, in the very beginning, Jesus said, let there be light, and there was light. He's proving to us that our words have so much power. He's proving to us that we don't have to fight. Like I was telling you, all the other creation stories, to get to their moment, they had to fight. The sun god had to fight the ocean god. The god of light had to fight the god of darkness. Our religion that I believe in starts with God, and it starts with him saying, let there be. And you are made in his image. You are made in his likeness. He passed that down to you. So while we're not magical, we aren't able to like make it rain, right, on a dime. We can bring things into our life, and we can let him know that we're ready for them by speaking them out loud. Sandra says Steve Harvey has a video on this. Oh, okay. We'll have to find that too and share. So I'm just curious if, like I said yesterday in church when he was talking about the creation story and how he said, God didn't have to fight for it. He just said, let it be. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, like I'm made in his image. I don't have to fight for all of these things. I can just say it. I can use the power of my voice. Like it hit me like a ton of bricks because I don't know, it just did. And that's why I wanted to share it with you guys today. But do any of you struggle ever? Do you ever like Samantha's on here now, and I know I call her like a manifestation queen. But do any of you struggle? Because I know a couple faces on here have struggled with this in the past. Like they've struggled saying their I ams, they've struggled doing a vision board because they've either felt selfish or they felt silly or they felt like it goes against like their God or their religion. And I'm just curious. Sonny says, yes, I do all the time. I'm just curious, does this make you feel differently about it? Have you ever thought of it this way before? Because I know I hadn't. I had never thought about it like that before. And I know you're all at work and you're all busy and all doing those things, but I would love to know if this made anyone look at it a little bit differently.
I've known of it my whole life, but I've never been able or found the way to apply it correctly
Mm-hmm.
to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know the right things to do. I know all this, but I don't apply it. I tell other people, but I don't do it to me. I'm not there for myself. And
Uh-huh.
that's something I need to figure that out.
Okay. That's an important aha moment. Sonny said,
Yeah.
yes, I've had these scriptures on my mirror. I've never felt worthy, even though it says to. What would if I've never thought about this, what a revelation. Rachel Hollis talked about this on her podcast. Oh, surround sound. Oh, that I'll have to go watch that then. Sam, I think you got on late. This was from church yesterday. This was what our pastor was talking about, or our father was talking about yesterday. And I was like, hey, wait, what? Like he didn't mention manifestation. He was talking about the creation stories and how our Christian Bible, there's no battles for us to start, that we know it all comes from God and that he is so powerful that it comes from his voice alone. But it was in that moment that I heard him say, you're made in my image and likeness. Like, in other words, duh, your words have so much power. And I know they have power to the point of, I've always been like, don't talk negative, don't bring that, don't be negative, um, find the good, that kind of stuff. But I've never really thought about the true power of creation in my voice, in my words. So while I can maybe change the mood of a situation by not being negative, I can use my voice to actually create the environment to where it's like negativity wouldn't be a part of it because it's not part of the creation. It's not part of what I made. Right. So using my voice to actually create your voice, your words, to actually create the life that you want. And that can be as simple as I want to live a peaceful life, or it could get as detailed as I want to live a life in a home with 4 bedrooms so I have room for XYZ, on a lake so we can do XYZ. Like you could be very specific. And again, I'm not saying that we're God. I'm not saying we're magical and that things are just going to happen. But if we hear, if our brains hear our voice enough talk about these things, and he hears us enough, because all your words are a version of prayer, right? Like he knows what's in your heart, whether you're talking out loud or not. But obviously, if you're talking out loud, makes it a little more clear, right? So like how Sonia was just saying, she's was it Sonia? Yeah, Sonia not feeling worthy. He knows you don't feel worthy. Like he already knows that, but he's trying to get you to get past that, right? He wants to hear from you. You got to remember too, we are all his children. Like I said I was going to get churchy today. So if this is beyond anyone's comfort zone, I get it. But we're all his children. And I don't even have kids of my own, but I have my nephews. And as you know, it does not matter what they do. I think it's phenomenal, right? Like they have just the best. They're just the best. If they sneeze, it's the best sneeze on planet Earth. If they laugh, it's the best laugh on planet Earth. If they make a mistake, it's the best mistake anyone on Earth has ever made, because that's how much I love them. Imagine how much God loves you, right? Like you don't have to be worthy. You already are worthy. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to know it. It's already there, right? Like my nephew doesn't have to think, I hope Aunt Tammy loves me. Whether he thinks I do or not, it's there. He has it at his, so when he's ready for it, it's there. So same with you. Maybe you don't feel worthy, but you don't have to feel worthy because you already are worthy. You may not feel it in the moment. You may forget it from time to time, right? We forget things. We're human. We aren't perfect. He did give us free will and we do forget things, but we are worthy, whether we feel it or not. So, excuse me. So when you have that thing in your mind where you're like, man, if I could just, like, I'm thinking of Sonia, like if she's laying there at night and every now and then she thinks, gosh, that new bike or that new part for my bike or that new accessory, and she just can't shake it. It's there for a reason. You're thinking of these things for a reason, right? So when you think of things like, gosh, if I could just be debt free, I know of the faces on here that you guys would take money and do good things with it. So I want to point out very quickly, because I think a lot of this goes back to money and people struggle with money and the want or desire for money. If somebody is a bad person, they will be a bad person with or without money, right? Money will just amplify the bad that they can do or be. If you're a good person, you're good with or without money, right? I was raised around a lot of money, but it showed up in the fact that we always had strangers at the dinner table. We always had a house full of people at holidays. We always had extra presents for gifts, right? It showed up in a good way. Like I was raised around a lot of money that was used in a good way because I was raised by good people. So if you're a good person, you don't need to be afraid of money. You don't need to be afraid of wanting more money. I know none of you are like, I want more money because I want to be on the cover of a magazine, right? Like you're not using it for fame and fortune, right? You're using it to make your life more comfortable. And remember, in the case of my nephew, how I was saying how much I love him. Like if he looked at me and said, I need $100,000, I'd find out a way to get it. If it was for, for his health, for his comfort, for his safety, right? You'd find a way to get it. If he wanted $100,000 because he wanted a new car or a new pair of shoes, I'd be like, son, get a job, right? But if he needed it to live the best life possible, I'd find a way to do it. And so when you're trying to live the best life possible, one that gives you peace, one that gives you calm, one that gives you the ability to share, the big man knows. He knows what's on your heart. So you don't even have to justify it, right? You just have to know that the power is in you and in your words because of the fact that he made you in his image and likeness. Let me go back over here. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Yes, girl. Shauna, he wants us to be bold and ask. I have to remember that he wants even more from me than I think I want. Speak it into existence. Yes, that's the whole thing summed up right there. Speak it into existence. So I'm not saying it happens overnight. I'm not saying it happens magically, miraculously. But like I said, even though I sometimes struggle with this, I have seen it. I have seen it in my life. I have made vision boards and things have come true. I have written down my I ams and things have happened. So I know for me, that's coming from my connection to God. And if you're connected to the universe, and maybe you are about the sun god and the ocean god and the wind god, whoever you know it to come from, it's coming to you. So regardless of who you think it comes from, there's power in it, right? Like I actually shared, I think it was one day last week, it was a picture of the galaxies. I don't even know what they call that whole thing. Is it the Milky Way? Like the whole thing, like where it's this big and like Earth is a speck over here. I think I don't remember which galaxy it is, but anyway, it was the picture of that from outer space. And it said, and it had a little dot pointed to Earth, and it said, you live here and you worry and pay taxes. And the whole thought is just like, what are you so worried about? Look at what you're a part of. Like I think there's two ways to look at that. Sometimes people think they're too important. They think everything about their life is the most important and that every move they make is going to affect everything and everybody and everyone. And in reality, we are tiny in the grand scheme of things. There is so much about this world that he created that we do not understand. And we're not meant to understand it. That's why we're here on Earth. right? And there's also the perspective of like, oh my gosh, look at this amazing thing that we're a part of. How can we be worried about something so menial as like, I scratched my car, right? Like when you really start to think about that, like that's not important in the grand scheme of things. So his timing when we are ready for it. Yes, exactly. I have always said when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that's the moment I had yesterday at church. Same thing. I've heard the creation story. I've heard so much stuff about I ams. I know there's power in my tongue. I've heard all those things. I've also heard that we were made in the image and likeness. But until that moment when I was ready to actually put it together, like I wish you guys could have seen my face. I like felt numb from the top down. I was like, oh, I get it now. Like he had the power to speak things into existence. So do we. We're not God, but we have that power. He gave us that. He taught us that. He showed us that time and time and time and time and time again. He even showed us again when he brought Jesus, and Jesus would go out and heal people. He would speak health and life over them and heal them. Right? He was showing us then how powerful our words could be. So I just wanted to spend this time with you, get a little churchy if need be, but remind you that your words create or destroy. And if you only have so many breaths left on this earth as we all do, why would you waste any of that breath for destruction when you could be using it for creation? Right? And you could be creating for you could be creating for your family, you could be creating for a friend. Like before we hit record, Sandra asked us all to pray for her aunt. Like those are words of creation. She's creating through her words a request that will then in turn create an atmosphere that would surround her aunt with love and prayer because she asked for that, right? Again, had she not asked for that, none of us would be able to do that. So it's the same with you. It's okay to ask for what you want. It's okay to ask for what you need. And here's the kicker. If you don't know what you want or need, it's okay to ask. Say, what do I need? What is it that I want? Like he's listening. But then you have to pay attention. And that's the hardest part, I think, for all of us. I know for me, it's my hardest one too. So I just hope that this kind of sits with you. Like I've sat with it now for a little over 24 hours and it's just so comforting, I guess would maybe be the word, to realize that I was selling myself short and I was selling the whole process short. Like I said, I was not being negative. Like I would definitely not try to say negative things, but at the same time, being positive is great, but being positive in a creation realm is better, right? So I'm going to start using my words to create what I want and what I want to see and what I want to feel. And here's the thing too, if you ask for something and then after the fact you're like, oh, I don't know if that was right, he already knows. He knew. Okay, he knew. So he probably chuckles. It's like when your kid is like, I can't wait to be well, this was me. I was classic. I can't wait till I go to college. I'm going to go far, far away. And your parent would be like, huh, right, whatever. She can't even like go spend the night with a friend without calling to check in on home. Right. And then when it came time to go to college, you're like, I'm just going to go down the road a little ways. Like he knows. So if you think you're wanting something, you'll get some experience and he'll let you know that this is actually not what you wanted, but here's what you wanted and I'm here for you. So that's it. Does anybody have anything they want to add or say? I'm curious. I'm going to go look for that Rachel Hollis podcast. And then I want to look for that Steve Harvey. His is a video on YouTube. So there's a podcast and a YouTube that apparently kind of talk a little bit about what I shared today. So again, I know I'm not a pastor by any means. We're not really able to give it justice and use all the right terminology and stuff like that. But hopefully you got the idea, you got the heart behind it. And you can sit with that for a little bit and feel it until you can take off. So, all right, love you guys bunches. See you later. Bye.